What is happening, guys? Welcome back to Redbeard's Garage, and this is our Mega Moto 420cc. The last episode we squeezed this 420cc in there and took it out riding, and it's a freaking hoss. It's torque monster, and it doesn't feel bad being a hardtail either. It feels really good. We do need to stiffen the front suspension. These are pretty weak from factory. You can put a spacer in them and some thicker oil. We're probably going to run just straight motor oil in them to make them as firm as possible, because I'm a big boy and this is a lot of weight on the chassis. But Go Power Sports just came out with their swing arm kit for the Mega Moto 212, and also they came out with a swing arm kit for their 80cc frame as well. You just saw us do the 80cc. Now we're going to be upgrading this. From the videos, it's extremely simple. You're basically bolting some shock tabs up here on this upper rack, and then you're going to cut the frame there and cut it there. We do have Go Power Sports battery box. So on the other side, you'll see on camera, we've got the battery box clamp. So I might cut just behind that and leave like a stub on the other side. We'll just have to see how we're going to do it. We will have to cut out this brace here and a few other things, but it shouldn't be no big deal. So the only issue I am worried about is where I mounted the exhaust. There's a hanger you can see on screen, and I believe it's right in the way to where this clamp goes. Hopefully not, but if that's the case, then what we'll do on our particular setup is we'll probably weld that shock tab on that side, because I think we'll have to cut one of the clamps off. But whatever we have to do, we'll do it. I will probably have to raise up this gas tank a little bit. This is just kind of a placeholder. That's where the gas tank's going to stay though, because you can see we have no room for anything up here. So we're going to get it on the stand and just go to chopping this thing apart. And you will have to have a little bit longer chain for this, but everything else comes in the kit. Super nice. The 80cc literally takes less than an hour. This should take about the same amount of time. So let's get to it. So first we're going to pull off the brake caliper, and then we're going to loosen the adjusters and then take the axle bolt out so we can pull the rear tire. I'm going to go ahead and remove this little chain guard. Pop off this master link. Great. So I'm guessing the spacers are going to be the same. You're going to use your large spacer on this side, then the brake caliper holder is the spacer on the other side. Ooh, you got the box shouldn't flip off here because we have the setup ratchet strap. So you're going to use the bolt. Everything is going to be all the same. You can buy plugs to just plastic plug the frame, and then we'll cut it there. And like I said, on the other side right here, we're going to leave this little chunk. So let me grab my Sawzall. So I don't know if Go Power Sports came out with a secondary battery kit for the swing arm, but this one will not work. So I cut this clamp off. It clamped around the tube here. I cut it off to be able to clear this one. I still got to grind what we've cut off, make it look nice, but there's gaps because of that. But anyways, it was hitting right in line where this was going to go. So I was like, okay, maybe I can just bolt this in and make a bracket that welds to this or something. But the problem is this one is in the same exact way. So I'm sure when they designed this, they didn't have their kit out, is most likely. So I would think they're probably coming out with a kit to accommodate for this. So what I'm going to do is come up with some gussets that hug this tube here and then set right under the metal. And I can grind, I just got this powder coated too. I can grind the powder coat, do some tack welds, and just tack weld it, because the battery's in there right now, and it'll just have two ears and it'll just be mounted forever there, because I don't need to move that battery or nothing. All right, so I got to bend these out because the heat drawed them in, and then I went ahead and cut all the stuff off the battery box that I didn't need. So this box is 5" dead on. That is 10" dead on. So 2.5" on each side will be dead centered.
You're good at math.
Thank you. Okay. Battery box mounted. For good. I shouldn't have to weld anything else, and you shouldn't have to weld anything. I would assume, again, I haven't looked. Go Power Sports should have. If not, right now, they will be coming out, I'm sure, with the battery box that works with this kit. They got to make everything bolt on because a lot of people don't have welders, so that's why this whole kit, like you could bolt this kit on and then fully weld it and be good. Like that's what I'll do before powder coat, because there's no point in leaving it bolt on, is I'll weld it right in there, just tack it everywhere, and then cut these off, most likely, and then just weld down it so it's all nice. But they just do this, again, because a lot of people don't have welders. Okay, let's clean up and then get to bolting this kit on. So with these brackets, they just set in one spot. You can't get it wrong. Like they shouldn't clock any different. They're just where they're at. And then all the bolts come in from the bottom side, which is actually very thought out, Go Power Sports, because if they didn't, then you wouldn't be able to get them in on this top one. So you just put both side brackets in just like this, and then I'm trying to get my holes lined up, and then just tighten them down. And I'm gonna go ahead and crank this all the way down because again, they can't be in the wrong spot with the way this frame's designed. Put a big block on a mini bike, they said. It'll be fun, they said. So we're running into a few issues because of our big block. This exhaust, and this is like the only place for the exhaust. The only thing I could have done, which I didn't know this was gonna interfere, would have been like clock the muffler out. But this is already, it isn't close to your leg, but it's close to your leg. You know what I mean? You can't really go out any further. I can't tuck it into here unless I remove my fender and put a center exit exhaust, but then this muffler wouldn't fit. So for now, I'm just gonna pull the muffler off because the shock mount sits right in here, right in there, and we do have to cut off this little nut. I don't even know what these are for. I've never used them. There's little nuts right there. There's one on each side, so we will have to cut those off. You probably don't have to. You can probably just face the shock mount further forward. But again, we're working around my modifications. How safe do you work? Fuel line right there. I went ahead and popped my seat off because I don't leave, on this particular build, I don't leave the back of my seat bolted because the seat pushes against this gasket so hard. It's actually nice to like adjust the valves and stuff. You just pop the seat off and it stays planted pretty good. So I removed my seat to get to these bolts, and I think, so this isn't necessarily going to interfere. Let me do a little testy poo. So yeah, I can put, I don't have as much adjustment as you would on it, but I'm just going to place my shocks right there, like all the way against this tube on each side, which will be fine. And I'm just going to loosely put these on for now because I don't know exactly how much they need to be clocked. So I'll go ahead and slap these hogs on, and then we can move on to the swing arm. I'm like, this is an easy kit. Nothing, everything I've done made it super hard.
I think, what are we, 6 or 7 years in? We should never use the word easy.
Yeah. So the kit comes with 2 bronze bushings, and you got to knock them in the ends of the swing arm. I would say to get on the solid ground, put it on a piece of wood and use like a rubber mallet, but because these will damage. I think these are oil impregnated, so they put oil out as they wear. So let's try to get her lined up here. Bam! So the kit comes with a bunch of washers, and you may need to place these, you know, in certain areas of the frame to make up the slack. So mine's got, you know, pretty decent amount of, but they expect that. So that's why they give you these washers. So I did some test fitting, and it looks like mine is going to use 2 washers. So I'm going to use a washer on each side of the swing arm. And then you want your tabs up, these shock tabs. I'm going to get this started on one side, slide that all the way through. Bam. Now we can tighten this up, and when you tighten this up, you want to leave movement in it. You don't want it to like stay, you want it to kind of float. There we go. Got it tight enough so it's not binding any. It's long travel, so your tire will sit there. Okay, now we can put our shock on. I'm going to use the washer on the bolt, slide the bolt through. You got 2 of them. Yeah. You can pick which hole you want to go with. I'm going to go with the furthest forward. So the closer you get to the pivot, the softer your suspension is going to be. So the further, so it's going to be stiffer out here. And it looks like you keep, I mean, you only lose a little bit of ride height like that. I'm probably going to want her stiffer like that. And I always put my barb for my nitrogen shock. So that's something real important about these shocks. They're nitrogen filled. So if you have a nitrogen regulator, you can add more PSI to these to get them stiffer, or you can adjust this preload. So you got a lock nut and then adjuster nut underneath. The more you tighten this down, you got about 1 inch of travel in this preload. It preloads the spring, and for every inch this spring moves, it can support, like, let's say 200 pounds. I don't know what these springs are rated to. So you could significantly stiffen your ride by just adjusting that or adding more nitrogen. What I'm going to do is snug up the bottom on both sides, and that'll kind of twist the shock how it needs to be. And then we can tighten up these lock collars because we haven't tightened these shock mounts yet. Yeah, those are in the right spot. So now we can tighten down our shock mounts. We're going to use our factory bolt. Start with the left-hand side and just get it sitting just like that. Make sure your adjuster's on there so when you slide it on. Then you're going to have your old spacer that's going to go on this side once you slide the wheel on. I'm going to be switching the tires out soon on this bike. I don't like V-treads on an off-road build. Technically this is like a road hog. Put our other adjustment on. Actually, you know what? I'm going to put a bigger washer. This thing has just a tiny washer on it. I'm going to put a good thick one on there. Mine's thicker. I like them thick. Good treat. I'm sorry. Okay, last thing. We're going to go up through the swing arm with our brake. We're going to come up through here, and we're going to slap that son of a gun right on the disc. Come on, baby. You know what I miss? I miss the days me and Lonnie was out here acting like freaking just absolute morons. I wish we knew we was in the good old days while we're in the good old days.
Mm-hmm. That's what everybody says.
I wish there was a way to know you're in the good old days before you've actually left them.
Bam! Alright, so we're going to push this all the way forward. We're going to snug up the axle bolt. And then all we got to do is cut a new piece of chain because we're going to need a longer one. I'm not adding to what I already got. I'm going to get a whole new piece. What is happening out there? 1942?
They're having airplane drag races.
They know. Yeah! Yeah!
was probably a $40 piece of wood.
That exhaust. If I would have engineered that son of a gun just a wee bit better, that's frustrating. So what I'm probably going to do is cut some 45s, cut this in half because I want the muffler to be on back before it was out like that. I want it to be about there. So I'm going to cut some section out of this. I'm going to put some 45s and like make the pipe start clocking out this way and just bring it out to like right schmear, you know, on the okay, that's it. Hey, whoa. See y'all guys in a minute. All right, so we have everything done with the swing arm, and I got the exhaust all fixed. It actually feels super good, like perfect, the way the suspension's set up. So I went with the furthest back on the adjustment on the bottom of the shock, and then the front of the shock, I had it pushed as far forward, the bracket, and it feels awesome. So we're gonna take a look at it, then we're gonna take a ride real quick. So there's how I had to do the exhaust. I basically cut a center chunk out and did two 90s. It's like a little snaky boy. And I was able to use the same mount. I just had to do a standoff, and that gives us clearance between the shock. It doesn't look like much on camera, but it's about a 1/2 inch, so it should be pretty good. These mufflers hold a lot of heat in because they're packed with fiberglass. But there she is. So let's go take her for a rip. What up, dog? Custard, come here. Oh. It's a wild dog right there. Okay, so we got electric start, and we'll choke this hog. Oh yeah, that's real nice. I mean, of course, you wouldn't expect nothing less. I definitely need to put more pressure on the rear pulley. It kicks into overdrive a little too soon. Maybe not. It's pretty decent. It just seems like if we could hold it a little longer, it would be a lot better. That's super smooth. And I actually don't feel it like skipping any teeth or anything, so it's nice. This trail, so we had a tornado, that tree fell, we got one down there, limbs are everywhere, so I haven't had time to go through the woods yet, clean up everything. Proper trail bike now, though. So smooth. We got limbs down everywhere. We need to bring the mower through here. Go, Lord have mercy. This thing's a freaking haul. It's even better now because you're not worried about the spring getting popped out of your back. Yeah, I do think we need to add just a little bit more pressure on that rear spring. Let's go. Alright, that is awesome. lot. This bike holds the weight really well. Like it doesn't, it's like it was meant for this frame. Oh, look at that. 79 F100, 77 high boy. About to do a conversion. Yeah, she do be hooning though. Ooh, nice. Yeah, that's borderline. My favorite mini bike, almost. It's different. It takes off those mother flipping hard. It's ridiculous. So that's really nice. Like made a huge difference. Well, I mean, of course it did. This is hard to not pick this over my Trailmaster because it's got so much low end power and this frame is really comfortable. My knees are more bent. Like the Trailmaster is a taller frame, especially with ground clearance. But it's just a different feel. Like I'm spinning this V-tread. It's spinning so much it's allowing the CVT to kick in the next gearing ratio early. So I do feel like I need to get my favorite tires put on this hog. I have a set sitting in there, so I'll probably do that soon and then see what it feels like. And I want to adjust this rear pulley. I don't know where the exhaust is at. The rear pulley with a little bit more tension on the spring to hold me in that lower gearing ratio. But sick bike, everything's linked down below. You can find the frame of the bike, the engine, the performance parts, the swing arm kit, all that stuff, and it's a success. No skipping of the chain, anything like that. Seems like the geometry is really good with this swing arm. Like I don't know if it's getting looser, you know, like the Trailmaster gets with stock shocks, it gets tighter, I think, as you squat it, and then when you put the bigger shocks on it, it's like it gets softer. What, I got a bug on me? Ah! But it's meaner than the son of a gun though. I can't wait till Lonnie's over next time to ride it. Yeah, make sure to check out those links. Thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know what you think about this hog. She's mean. And I was going to put a Mikuni and stuff on it. Like the stock carb starts really good. I like it. I think it's good the way it is. It does sound like it still has a knock to it, don't it to you?
I didn't notice.
But all right, well, we love you. God bless. Check out the links. Love your boy. Love your parents. God loves you. Love God. We'll see you.